Angela had lived her whole life in the shadows of wealth she could never touch. She worked as a maid in the mansion of Richard Kane, a ruthless billionaire known more for his business empire than his heart. To Angela, the marble floors and crystal chandeliers were reminders of everything she would never have. She scrubbed away dirt she hadn't made, served meals she could never taste, and ironed suits that cost more than she earned in a year. But what drove Angela each morning wasn't the paycheck. It was her daughter, Maya, just 7 years old. Maya was the joy that made her struggles bearable. But lately, joy had turned to fear. Maya's heart condition was worsening. Doctors said she needed urgent surgery, but the cost was astronomical. Every hospital visit drained Angela's savings, and every rejection letter from charity programs cut her deeper. She had tried everything: overtime shifts, borrowing from neighbors, even begging the hospital administration. But the truth was brutal. Her little girl's life depended on money Angela did not have. One evening, as Angela polished the glass staircase, she overheard Richard on a call. His voice was sharp, almost dismissive. "Wire the extra $2 million into the new account. It's nothing, just pocket change." Those words burned in Angela's mind. Pocket change. The very sum that could save her daughter's life was something Richard Kane dismissed as meaningless. That night, Angela sat beside Maya's hospital bed, holding her frail hand as machines beeped steadily. Her daughter whispered, "Mama, will I get better?" Angela forced a smile, though her heart cracked. She whispered back, "Yes, baby, Mama will do anything." And in that moment, anything began to mean something dangerous. Angela's plan wasn't elaborate. It was born out of desperation, not calculation. She knew the mansion better than anyone, every corridor and every lock. Richard trusted her with access to his office, where he kept sensitive documents and digital devices. For weeks, she had ignored the drawer where his checkbooks and account files lay. But now, ignoring it meant losing Maya forever. Late at night, when the household was asleep, Angela slipped into the office. Her hands trembled as she booted up Richard's laptop, recalling his habit of using his son's birth date as passwords. It worked. A few clicks later, she was staring at accounts holding sums she couldn't even comprehend. With tears streaming down her face, she wired a fraction, just enough to cover the surgery, into the hospital account. She whispered an apology into the silence of the office. At dawn, Maya was wheeled into the operating room. Angela clutched her daughter's tiny shoes, praying harder than she ever had. Hours dragged by, each second slicing through her nerves. When the surgeon finally appeared, his face solemn, Angela braced for the worst. Instead, he said, "The surgery was a success. She'll recover." Relief flooded her, and for the first time in weeks, Angela sobbed from joy instead of despair. But her relief didn't last long. At the mansion, Richard's security team had flagged the suspicious transfer. Surveillance footage showed Angela at the computer. To them, it was clear. The maid had stolen from the billionaire. Angela was arrested right outside the hospital, still wearing her uniform. She screamed, begging them not to handcuff her in front of Maya. The billionaire's guards were unmoved, treating her like a common thief. Word spread quickly. The maid stole from her boss. Neighbors whispered. Hospital staff stared, and Maya's tears echoed louder than any accusation. At the police station, Richard himself arrived, fury burning in his eyes. "You betrayed me," he spat. Angela fell to her knees, sobbing. "I didn't do it for me. My daughter was dying. Please, you have more money than you'll ever need." Richard's jaw tightened. He was a man who lived by rules. Rules of ownership, of power, of control. But something in Angela's raw, desperate voice made him pause. The officer glanced at him. "Do you want to press charges?" Angela thought her fate was sealed. But Richard hesitated. For the first time, he truly saw her. Not as a maid, but as a mother. He remembered his own daughter, long gone from his life, whose absence no fortune could fill. He saw in Angela the pain he once felt. Yet mercy wasn't in his nature. Not yet. He ordered her to be held overnight, saying he would decide in the morning. The night was long and cold in the cell. Angela thought of Maya waking up, asking for her mother. She wondered if her daughter would think she had abandoned her. All Angela had ever wanted was to give her child a chance to live, even if it meant destroying her own life. Meanwhile, Richard returned to his mansion, but found himself restless. He poured whiskey, but every sip burned instead of soothing. He replayed Angela's words. She was dying. I did it for her. He saw Maya's face in his mind, pale and fragile. A haunting realization crept over him. Angela hadn't stolen out of greed. She had risked everything out of love. The next morning, Richard visited the hospital. When Maya opened her eyes and whispered, "Mama saved me," something shifted in him. For the first time in years, he felt the weight of humanity pressing against the armor of wealth. Back at the station, Richard shocked everyone. "Release her," he ordered, "and clear her record." Angela collapsed in gratitude, tears flooding her cheeks. She expected anger, punishment, exile, but instead he told her, "From now on, your daughter's medical expenses will be covered. Consider it an investment in loyalty." Angela bowed her head, whispering, "Thank you, sir." But in her heart she knew the truth. It wasn't loyalty that had saved Maya, it was love. Richard left the station, unsettled but changed. For a man who had always believed money was power, he now saw a deeper truth. Sometimes money is only as meaningful as the love it can protect.